This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard the Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary here on this Thursday, March 5th, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Todd Leary is here as Jim Coyle. Jake's at the wheel. Hope you guys are having a great day. Ready to get at it. Todd Leary, Indiana got the win they needed to talk about the NCAA. We can put that away, but it's still going to happen because it's fun to do, right?
It is. It is. I mean, that's, yesterday we talked a bunch about that was a game, that they needed to win. I don't necessarily think for the NCAA tournament, but just from their own perspective. And it was nice to go get one of those wins.
On the program today, Zach Osterman from the Indianapolis Star. I love talking to Zach. Get him on here. And Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition to join us as well. Plenty to talk about, like we said, Indiana, the game last night, getting the win. How about IU baseball, man? They just beat the crap out of Purdue. The women get started in Big Ten play in the tournament tomorrow. And then, of course, we got lots of games to talk about. We're going to hear from Archie Miller. Mike Schumann to join us as well today. So we can talk about some starting lineups. I sent him a text that said you should have asked him about load management as well. I didn't do that, but you'll understand what I'm talking about a little later. But Indiana gets the win last night. Most importantly, Todd Leary, is Minnesota gave Indiana all they wanted in that game, but Indiana did what they needed to do to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in different situations throughout the season, and especially as it's progressed on later in the year, where, they were kind of some must-win situations for their tournament life. And I honestly don't think last night was. It certainly doesn't hurt, and it would have put them more on the bubble with a loss. But I think last night was more of a need to win from their own team psyche perspective and gaining some momentum. And, you don't just want to, it's not like, Indiana's going to feel like they got over the hump and are downhill once they get into the tournament. I mean, once you're there, you got an opportunity. I mean, everybody has an opportunity, and there's 68 teams in the field, and there'll be a bunch of them that are, everybody doesn't have a chance to win it. There'll be a bunch of those 14, 15, 16 seeds that truly are just happy to make it, and they'll put a banner up just for making the tournament. But Indiana, I don't think they can be at that point. I think once they get there, I think Indiana does have the ability to beat anybody in the country, and they've proven that. So it's at that point it then becomes, what kind of momentum do they have, and what kind of role are they on? And you know what? It'd be nice to make a run in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, this team, Indiana in general, not this particular group of guys, but the School of Indiana University in the Big Ten tournament has not had a ton of success in the Big Ten tournament, to say the least.
Yeah, and speaking of the Big Ten tournament now, Indiana is, I think it's virtual lock that they will be playing on Wednesday in that first day, at 9-10. Purdue also 9-10, but they do have a game against Rutgers at home. And if they lose that, now then that changes things, because that would put Purdue at 9-11. If Indiana can get a win over Wisconsin, that would get them out of there. But I don't see Purdue losing at home, especially with them fighting for their tournament life. Because if they win that Rutgers game and one game in the Big Ten tournament, they're in the NCAA tournament. Hell, they may be in if they just beat Rutgers, because that's a quad one win.
Yeah, it's you know what it is. I think this is one of those years. I'm kind of stating the obvious here, but I really think it's one of those years that the committee is not going to be able to look at where you finish in your league, because the Big Ten's not the only example. There's several different, examples of teams where, in their league, there are going to be teams that finish above them that don't make the tournament, and are not automatic qualifiers. So, even if Purdue finishes above Indiana, I don't think that guarantees that they're going to get in. And
no. I think they have to beat Rutgers personally because
I think they've got. Look, nobody has them in. Nobody has them in.
Well, right now they're not in. That's why they have. If they beat Rutgers, though, that would put them at 10-10 in the Big Ten. And man, and with all of their metrics numbers, the only thing that they have bad is their record is not the most beautiful thing in the world. But if they get a win over Rutgers, that'll put them at 17-14. And a couple of years ago, when they put Vanderbilt in out of the SEC with a similar record, which I still can't get over, but I just think Purdue will make it in if they beat Rutgers. And if they beat Rutgers, that keeps Indiana in that first day of the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I agree. I agree with you. I'm surprised that nationally it doesn't look more that way. But I mean, they don't even have them listed. I don't think Lenardi even has them listed as first four out yet. I think they're still outside that, that area. So I think they truly need, something crazy. I think they need a couple of wins in the Big Ten tournament. But I agree. I'm in agreement with you. I mean, they have too many quality wins. If you're taking, what is it? The at-large bids, what are there? Are there 32 or 34, whatever there are? They are one of the best 34 teams. I mean, they could make a run. They are that good of a team. And so if you're going to take the best teams, I think that with the eye test, I would think that they would get in.
Stretch there.
They don't go by the eye test near as much as you and I do.
Let's hear what Mr. Richard Pitino had to say. Man, he got unglued one time. How about how this game was called again last night? I thought it was called horribly to open the game. There were guys just getting knocked around. And then sometimes I think there were times it looked worse than it was. I thought that Justin Smith really fouled that guy, but you said that if you saw the right angle, you could see that it clearly didn't. But it still seemed a little, man, they were letting them play last night.
Yeah, I mean, you can't base a whole lot off Richard Pitino because he gets mad about everything that's going on all the time. I mean, he's one of those guys that never picks his spots on, complaining to the officials. He just starts out from the first tip complaining to the officials. So I think he loses a little bit of, his bark when he's out there always complaining. That play with Justin Smith, that was a loose ball. If they had made that call, I think we would have looked at it the opposite way as I mean, that was a loose ball. That wasn't any. Justin had tipped that ball. It was free, and he went and got it and took it from him. I mean, that's the kind of aggressive play you want to see. Even if they called the foul, I'd have been fine with it.
The dog catcher hit up on sends a text in, says it looked like they had a more simplistic offense last night.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's the right description. I don't know that it's not. I mean, I know that they were shooting earlier in the shot clock, and if that makes it seem more simplistic, then I'm all for it. Whatever.
They definitely, and we talked about this on the postgame show. They definitely, I noticed in the first 5 minutes at least, almost all their shots were within 10 feet. So they were really working to get a concerted effort to get closer to the rim, and they attacked the rim way more last night than I've seen them do in a long time. Rob Finney was really good at that, but Al Durham tried to as well. Don't see Devontae do that a lot, but of course he's there for shooting, I guess. But he's such a he what?
Yeah,
6 points in the last. There you go.
He last night he actually did. I mean, that's why when he does it, I think you can tell it was more of a team focus. And I'll be honest with you. Yes, I like when he could get all the way to the rim. That's fine. When he drives in and throws a pass, it's 90% a turnover. So I want him. Look, he's one of the few people that I would say, that I would talk about, not just because he's at Indiana, but he's one of the few people I would say I think he needs to be more selfish and not pass, because when he passes, bad things happen. And, it's either a Sports Center top 10 alley-oop layup or some crazy thing, or it's a turnover. And there's no in between for him. So I'd rather him shoot it. I don't care if he drives it or shoots a three, but I'd rather him always shoot it than pass it.
Yeah, he certainly likes to add an element of difficulty
craziness
to his shots.
Yeah. His degree of difficulty is it's outrageous.
It's like, man,
it's crazy. But he is, he's just one of those guys. I mean, he can be the difference maker. What where I get frustrated when I talk to people about him is, you know what you've got. Like, we don't need him to change. We don't need to try to change him. We don't need to do anything any different. We know what we have with him and go with it and accept, some of the turnovers and some of the bad shots in people's mind, because when he takes those bad, he makes more difficult shots than any player I can ever remember in Indiana's history. I mean, he's like Jay Edwards' difficulty making shots. But he misses some of them too, and they look really bad when he misses them. But you got to live with it, because he can be the difference maker. He could be the reason why Indiana can beat a team like, I'll say Baylor or Kansas or somebody like that. Indiana would have to have an extraordinary performance from a guy like Devontae Green in order to beat one of those top tier teams.
And when you get into the tournament, you're going to have a heroic effort from someone each game, because the other team is going to get that. I mean, that's what happens in this tournament. People rise up. Big players make big shots. You're on the big stage, and some of these teams, Stetson, or, when you see these crazy teams that we don't see all year long, and then all of a sudden this tournament comes along and Belmont's beating a Duke or, something fun and crazy, but that's about what's going to be going down here in a couple of weeks.
Well, it is. And you know what? Like, we talked about this. We talk about it on the post-game show all the time. And really what it is, you're looking for players to step up and play. So when you go into a game, what do you expect out of Justin Smith? And what do you expect out of Rob Finney? And if you sat down and you came up with, like, you truly could do this before a game and sit down and write down what you expect out of those players, write down a stat line of what you expect out of the whole starting five, and be realistic. Don't write what you want to happen. Like, you want Devontae Green to go 7 for 11 from the 3-point line. Like, write down, he averages making 3 threes a game. So let's say he goes 3 for 7, and write down what you expect the whole team to be. And then at the end of the game, kind of analyze who played up to their level of what you expect out of them. For Indiana to be really good, you can sit down and predetermine what the stats should be. And if they are those stats, they should probably win. And if they do those or play at that level or above and they lose, then the other team probably had a crazy, extraordinary game, or somebody did. And we've talked about this a bunch, in that Indiana has, multiple games in a row where there's no one that meets their expectation level. And that's where I try to, when I talk to fans, and I try to do it myself, that's why I don't get on the coaches and that stuff near as much as I think a lot of other fans do, because when you sit down and write down, this is what I would expect out of Justin Smith in a game, and I'm using his name as an example. I'm not picking on him. I thought he played great yesterday. But when you sit down and write down what I expect out of Joey Brunk or Trace Jackson Davis or Al Durham is probably the best example, because when you sit down and write that down at the end of the game, he doesn't come anywhere near what you expected out of him. He didn't play that well. I mean, he didn't do that well. And we've had so many games where there wasn't a single player on the team, on the whole roster, that played to your expectation level for them, so that you can't expect them to win. You can't blame that on the coaches, because the coaches can't go out there and get the rebounds for them.
Couldn't be any righter. Hey, coming up next, Zach Osman is going to join us. Indiana Sports Bit Coiler is back with Zach Osman right after this. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Dustin Schutte's on the show today. Mike Schumann will join us. We got lots to get to. Archie Miller will hear from him as well. Stay tuned. We're back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
You see, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Thursday, March 5th. Joining us now, Zach Osterman from the Indianapolis Stars. Zach, how are you, sir?
Hey, how we doing?
How's little Jack doing?
He's pretty good. He's having a bit of a meltdown when I drop him off, but he'll get over it.
Todd Leary's on here with us, Zach. He understands. He's been through that 3 times over.
Yeah, this is our first. We're still building the plane as we fly it, I think, someday.
Yeah, I hear that. How old is he now?
He'll actually be 2 tomorrow, so I don't know if we're
happy
warming up
birthday.
for birthday or what, but yeah, he went from 0 to 80 this morning.
Hey,
Awesome.
you know, the good news for that is you probably only have about 12 more years of it. So look at the bright side.
Yeah.
And then after that, you just want to strangle them every day because then they just start making really stupid decisions.
Hey, so Zach, Indiana gets a very important win last night. I know a lot of fans have been asking, are they in the tournament? They're in. We think that they're in now solidly. Their seeding is obviously not the greatest, but they are in this tournament, even if they were to lose to Wisconsin. But they've gotten done what they have to get done, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're just sort of in a completely sort of mortal lock, but I think a lot of weird stuff would have to happen at this point. I think they are as comfortable as you can be without just simply saying it's over, it's done. Maybe the one real spanner in the works is it now looks like it's going to be hard for them to avoid playing Nebraska on Wednesday, the Big Ten tournament. And obviously you don't want to lose that game and have that kind of be the lasting impression you leave the committee. But even then, when you look around at a lot of the other bubble resumes, you look at the quantity of good wins that other teams have versus what Indiana has, frankly, the quantity of bad losses some other teams have compared to what Indiana has. It's just, like I said, bar a remarkable set of circumstances with Indiana losing out, a bunch of bid thieves in the smaller conferences, which doesn't even really look that realistic because I don't think you got a ton of deserving at-large teams from your low and mid-major conferences this year. And then just some really wonky stuff happening with a lot of other bubble teams. I think they're in.
Yeah, and also there's only so much they can do to help themselves as far as their seeding goes. I mean, yeah, beating Wisconsin's going to be great because that is an actual quad one win. And if they can get something done in the tournament, they may help them a little bit. But I think that they're going to be locked into that 8, 9, 10 block there of play no matter what. There's only so much they can do, I think, that unless they were going a crazy run in the tournament, of course. But I'm not all that aside, I think they're pretty much locked in that 8-10 seeding area.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them bumping above an 8. I could see them getting to a 7 or even a 6 if you, as you said, if you win Saturday, Wisconsin's a quad one win. It's at home, but it's still a quad one win. And Wisconsin's playing for, I think at this point, share the Big Ten title. If they win that game. But let's say that you did go to Indianapolis and win a couple. You'd presumably add another quality win on the Thursday. If Indiana could get to Saturday in the Big Ten tournament, and listen, I recognize Indiana's history with the Big Ten tournament is not very illustrious. But if Indiana could get to Saturday in the Big Ten tournament, I could see a world where they'd get bumped up to a 7 or maybe even a 6. I mean, years ago, I covered a Notre Dame team that had a season kind of not dissimilar to the one Indiana's had, where they just sort of waffled between, unconvincing home wins and unconvincing road losses. And then Luke Herringody got hurt. Mike Bray changed his entire offense, and they tore off like 6 wins in a row before they lost in the Big East tournament. I think maybe the Big East semifinal. And we all figured at that point they were in, but then they showed up as a 6 seed on Selection Sunday, and we were all kind of like, whoa, that feels high even for the way this team's been playing recently. And but that can happen sometimes. I know the committee does everything it can to kind of treat everything equally, to not get swept up by the way a team's playing at a certain time or that sort of thing. But if you do leave a good lasting impression kind of going into Selection Sunday, it doesn't hurt you very often. So I could see them kind of breaking that 8 seed ceiling. But like you, I think it would take not just winning Saturday, but really sticking around for a while in Indianapolis. And obviously, I mean, it's a program, I'm not trying to be flippant. It's won one Big Ten tournament game in the last 4 seasons, not counting this one. It's got, years of reversal of fortunes to take care of in that event.
Hey, Zach, I've been looking at it and I mean, I'm kind of on this may sound stupid and it's probably going to play out to be stupid, but if you look at the Rutgers-Purdue game, I honestly think that's a play-in game. I really do. I don't think both of those teams will make it, and I think if Rutgers loses that game to Purdue on Saturday or whatever, Saturday or Sunday, based on where they're going to end up, I mean, based on their first game of the Big Ten tournament, if they lose that, I honestly think Purdue would slip into that spot instead of Rutgers, and that'd be a pretty dramatic drop off for Rutgers compared to where they were, even a month ago.
I'll be honest, I could see a world at this point where both make it. And again, I don't know. We can get trapped in our Big Ten bubble sometimes.
I agree. I know. I do it all the time.
But you look around the country, I mean, a lot of the other Power 5 conferences are down. It's hard to justify more than, maybe 4 teams out of the ACC. And this is also the time of year where you get a lot of people, just sort of casual fans, saying, well, I'd rather see the mid-majors in. I'd rather see the small schools, the chance for Cinderella upsets and stuff. But it's like, look at those schools. I mean, the A-10 is going to be a one-bid league if Dayton wins its conference tournament. There's nobody who's deserving. And I don't think that obviously you should put teams in just so you can hope for Cinderella moments and, small schools to beat big schools. Obviously, we all love seeing that in March, but it should still be based first on, what you deserve and what you've earned, obviously. And I could see a world where the way Purdue's playing, if Purdue beats Rutgers, because I do think Rutgers kind of really steadied itself with that win against Maryland. And I know I think they have one win away from the rack all year, and I believe that's Nebraska. I think one of their wins is also a non-Division I win, which means the NCAA, the committee basically will just chop that off the end.
Right.
You've got, 17 wins or whatever. But I could see a world where if Purdue beats Rutgers, and as long as neither of them just completely flame out in the Big Ten tournament, the league just gets 11 teams, and maybe one of those guys is in the play-in, one of them's in the first four. But it would not shock me to see 11 Big Ten at this point, because you just look around the country, and I don't know if a Big Ten team's going to be in the Final Four, going to win a national title, whatever. But in terms of depth, the Big Ten's got it in a way that nobody else, not even the Big East, really has been able to develop this year.
Yeah, and that says a lot for the Big Ten, and to play in that league this year, and because sometimes the Big Ten gets not as much respect as the conference, as much as they should, I think. But ACC maybe 4 teams, the SEC maybe 4 teams, and it's just been a juggernaut to play in this league. I think Rutgers gets in no matter what. I think that they've done enough to do so, and it's going to be if Purdue wins Sunday, I think it's going to be an 11-team Big Ten field this year, which is amazing to me. Even though there's 14, that's an amazing accomplishment for one league to get that many teams in the tournament.
Yeah, and again, I don't. It's impossible. It's been impossible for me to figure out just how to measure everybody outside maybe the top 3 or 4 teams in the country. I was an AP top 25 voter for 5 years, and I kind of begged off it this year just because with the kid and everything, I just didn't feel like I had the time to devote to watching games and, doing enough research that I wasn't just throwing schools on a ballot and turning it in every Monday morning. And I'm not complaining that this happened to be the year that I didn't have to lash in an AP vote anymore, because I don't know where I'd start. Really, how do you weight, teams that are finishing 10-10 in the Big Ten, but then you look at the Big Ten and you see the depth it has. Even Minnesota was on the bubble until about a week ago, right. And if they'd won last night I think they would have been something like 14-15 or 14-16. I think they still would have been. I think they would have been, kind of moving back into that next 4 out kind of category, maybe right off the cut line like that. I just don't know how you grade that against, where Duke stacks up, or where, Florida State stacks up, or now Virginia's surging. And it has been one of the most difficult seasons that I've ever seen, certainly in my job covering college basketball, to try and figure out, to try and make sense of who fits where, who is, how do you weight non-conference success versus conference success? How do you weight conference strength versus win totals and things like that? It's been mind-boggling to watch it.
And the one thing that we've seen, Zach, dissipate is all the people talking about Archie, or kind of being on the hot seat. If you really think about it, if he's able to get this team into the tournament, and there's no reason I think that they're in, like we said, he's doing it in a year in which this league is as tough as it's been in maybe ever. And so that's a pretty good accomplishment to get that team in then. So that should be something positive for Hoosier fans to look forward to, because they can get it done now. Surely they can continue to do that in the future. But for this to be the first time back in a few years, it comes at a critical time.
It does. Listen, I'll always understand Indiana fans being frustrated when they've been outside the NCAA tournament 3 straight seasons. I don't, I think it can sometimes feel like it's the job of somebody in my role to try and, speak the be kind of the calmer voice, the calmer head. And I do try to approach things as objectively as I can, but I also understand, enough about this place to know that, 3 straight seasons out of the NCAA tournament is well above what, or well below, what Indiana fans have a right to expect of their program. And so at times this season, when it started to look rocky again, I can understand why they'd be frustrated. But, the flip side to that is I've also said this a few times this year, just kind of, you think back to preseason expectations. And when I talk to, just anecdotally talk to fans, you lose your top 2 scorers, top 2 rebounders, top 2 minutes played guys, top 2 possessions used guys, almost any measure, your 2 best players from last season. You don't necessarily, Trace Jackson-Davis has been great, but it's not like you replace them with just a huge quantity of incredibly talented freshmen. It was a small freshman class. It was just a 2-man class plus a graduate transfer, and all 3 of those guys have contributed. But it's not like when Duke brings in 4 top 25 guys seemingly every year. And Indiana was picked, I think, in a sort of media organized poll, anywhere from 7th to 12th in the league. They settled in around 9th or 10th. And everyone kind of nodded and said, yeah, that seems about right. And if things cut our way and we make the most of the non-conference schedule, we should be able to get an NCAA tournament bid. And then when kind of, there's been gnashing of teeth at different times, I've sort of said, isn't this what we talked about as reasonable expectations, though? When you consider kind of where the roster is, what was lost off last season, obviously, as you said, the difficulty of the league, this seems about like par, maybe even frankly slightly above it. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't need to get better as time goes on. I think Archie Miller himself would tell you that he doesn't want to be coaching a program that's just living on the bubble every February. But in this moment in time, frankly, to me, this just seems like kind of the natural, I don't want to say next step, but it's certainly a natural or necessary kind of evolutionary season for this program.
I could not agree more. I think you've hit the nail right on the head. Todd, anything else?
No, I mean, to go right along with what Zach's saying, it's, when you look at when you talk about Indiana's fan base, one of the things that you talk about as the positive is how knowledgeable they are. And in some people's cases, how knowledgeable they think they are about the game of basketball. And then like, if you want to analyze the negatives of Indiana's basketball fan base, it's the exact same answer. And so many people, if you hear fans of Indiana and Kentucky and they're talking about their team, they're talking about, Jim, when we did our show last night, we've got people talking about spacing and cutting and screening and all different kinds of things. You go to a place like Seton Hall and they talk about their fan base, they talk about wins and losses. And they talk about, how many points they score. And they don't talk about the little details of things going on. So it's definitely scrutinized at a completely different level. And the fan base, Jim, you and I did this all year long. We would say, hey, we got look at the next 4 games as a pack. And 2 of them are at home and 2 of them are on the road. If they split those 4 games, I think everybody would be happy with that. But then during both of those 2 losses during that period, everybody's freaking out and, the world's crashing down. And, it's exactly what Zach said. If you sat down at the beginning of the season and you wrote out wins and losses, Jim, you and I did this on the show. You write out how many games you think they'll win, how many games you think they'll lose. And then when they achieve exactly that, you've got to kind of accept it and be okay with it. And that's where I think Indiana fans, every time there's a loss, and look, I'm an Indiana fan, so I'm no different than anybody else right now, other than I do think I have a little bit realistic expectation of this team, and they're going to have some losses, obviously, and they have, but it's just a matter of how they've played. And Jim, some of the best things we've said about this team are after games they've lost. And when they've even played really well. In the Illinois game, they there was some very real positives out of that. But, when you look at it at the end of the day, it's if they make the NCAA tournament, that is, that's what this team absolutely has to do. I would jump on board and be involved in the scrutiny if they didn't make the NCAA tournament again. But making it, you totally have to jump off the, you have to back away from the ledge and go ahead and be okay with, hey, this team achieved, at or above what the expectation level was. And let's be good with that. You can't set an expectation level, have them achieve it, and then be pissed about it.
There you go. As you know, Zach always gives you great coverage, complete coverage in the Indianapolis Star.
Yeah,
also, he's the co-host of Mind Your Batters with Chronic Hoosier, a good friend of ours. Is there another episode of that coming out anytime soon, Zach?
I think we may have one today, but unfortunately, Chronic's work schedule is kind of throwing everything for a loop. So it may be me and bringing in somebody to substitute. But we're kind of fighting through Chronic kind of having his work schedule thrown for a loop unexpectedly this week. And then obviously, for me, it's just kind of a hectic time of year. If it's not today, it'll certainly be early next week previewing the Big Ten tournament.
Absolutely. Make sure you catch that. If not, we'll be pointing it out to you. Zach, I can't thank you enough, man. We love having you on. We're grateful for you taking the time, anytime, to join us.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me, as always.
You betcha. Zach Osterman, IU Insider from the Indianapolis Star. We've got lots more coming up here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary. Back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hi, this is A.J. Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Did you say I was taking questions about my starting five?
People have asked questions over the last couple of weeks about.
To you?
Pardon me?
They were asking you or me?
I've heard questions.
Okay, so they're talking to you.
Correct.
I haven't heard very many.
I heard a question on the radio.
Really?
Earlier in the week, yeah. But the bottom line is.
Yes, the bottom line is, here's the deal. You're in March. And if you change your starting lineup, you change your starting lineup for a specific reason or a specific adjustment. Because I'll tell you this much, the minute you change, you lose guys. There's no reason to do that. And part of it is, I think what Joey did tonight, you hang in there, you hang in there. It's not easy to play well every night, but it's easy to play hard every night. And I think Joe played extremely hard tonight. I also think that Trace, we weren't even sure if Trace was going to play a little bit today. He's a little banged up, so we had some other guys ready to roll on that one. But in general, if we would change, it would be because of a movement of strength, not out of a movement of weakness. I can't stress that enough. If we make a change at halftime, it's to make a movement of strength, not weakness. And we've been doing it all year by committee. It's not like our starters always play well or this guy and that guy plays well. I mean, we've had games where Devontae's coming off the bench and he's killing people. Tonight, really Rob and Al, I thought, played a solid game. And Devontae did as well, especially with his assist. But I'm pleased with our group, and I was really, really happy for Joey to kind of get going offensively again, because we need that. We need that. Go ahead.
From your perspective,
Archie Miller talking last night on about starting lineups. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, here on this Thursday. Jim Coyle, Todd Leary with you as always, joined now by Mike Schumann of the Daily Hoosier. What do you think about starting lineups, Mike?
I think it was a great question. Who asked that great question?
I just wish you also would have added something about load management along the way.
Well, that could come next week. They're probably going to be playing on a Wednesday game against Northwestern Nebraska, so they might want to save some energy for the next day. I'll tee that one up next week.
Yes, yeah, we'll see how that one works for you.
Man, it's here's why I love that, and you know what? I hope you take credit for this, because you got an answer to something that we talk about on our show, every game day for sure. And a lot of times the day after the game. And that is because Archie, he likes to kind of stick with the lineup. And, early in the season, we saw the same thing. It took a lot for him to take Armand Franklin out of that starting lineup. And, I think we were all sitting there scratching our heads in some games being like, Devontae is coming in immediately. Rob Finnessy is now healthy. How are we not changing this lineup? And look, they're just because it's Archie's philosophy to kind of stick with that lineup. I think he answered that question right there in discussing that as to what we can expect out of him for not just this year, but for years to come. And that's a philosophy that he has. It answers a question for me. And I know I've been saying it all the time. How can Joey Brunk start a game? I mean, he started, I'm going to say 4 out of 5 games in a row. He came out before the 16-minute mark. I mean, he came out at the 18-minute mark 3 games in a row. So that's rare. That's not normal. So it's understandable to ask a question about that from my perspective. So I'm telling you, I think that was a great question. Now you took the heat. I think it's great because I didn't have to sit there and get made fun of by him or ridiculed. But on the flip side of it, I'll just keep on talking and add another point. We've complained all, for 3 years now that Archie doesn't have a personality, and hey, we'll take it. I mean, the guy, he was being funny. He was being a little bit sarcastic. He was being a little bit, facetious, but he was also being a little bit, of a jerk about it. And I'm fine with that. If Coach Knight did that, everybody think it was hilarious.
Yeah, that's just standard operating procedure for Coach Knight.
Exactly.
It didn't really bother me at all because it's, it's not about me. It's about, as you said, getting him to talk about things that people want to know about. And I think he did that. And the other thing about it that I liked is that, he was defensive for his players. I mean, he felt really good about what he got out of Joey Brunk last night. And I think he took that question as an affront towards Joey. Like, why is Joey still in the lineup? And I specifically, you've wanted to ask it. Everybody's wanted to ask it. And I specifically waited until the starting lineup played well, thinking that, it's a little bit safer to ask this question after they all scored in double figures. They started both halves really well. And, I think he just immediately heard starting lineup and thought, you know what, you're attacking my man Joe, which is great. That's that fire that you're talking about that you want to see.
But my question is, just because something works 10% of the time, why does that make it a success?
Well, yeah. but I mean, I think his answer kind of answers that. I mean, we've been sitting there going, why is this his philosophy? I mean, we've analyzed it on our own and come up with, hey, he doesn't like to change the starting lineup. The other coaches like to change it every other game. And he likes to stick with it. And I think his answer in saying, look, you're going to mess with some guys' heads if you're changing that all the time, or if guys are wondering what's going to happen. Right now, all 10, 11, 12, 15, 19 players, however many they have on the roster, they all pretty much know who's starting when they come into a game. There's no question marks about that. Now, the one where I will defend Archie Miller on this is I've said this. I've been saying this since I was in college. I don't care who starts a game. It's a matter of who ends up playing the minutes. And I do think Archie does a good job of when it's not working, he yanks it and pulls the plug. He's pulled the plug real early on the Joey Brunk project numerous times.
Yeah, so what it tells me is that Joey Brunk is getting a shot in every game no matter what against whoever it is on the floor for the opposition. But that tells me that Archie does not seem to predetermine how well a matchup will go. He does not sit there and go, well, this game, I don't know that Joey's going to match up so well with whatever, so maybe he doesn't start. He doesn't do that. He's putting him in regardless and giving him a shot.
Yeah, I think he takes the approach of, hey, I think this is my best lineup, and this is my best shot to get off to a good start, and this is what I'm going to go with. But I will say, if it's not worked, I mean, Joey Brunk came out, I think it was 3 or 4 games in a row. It might have been 4 games in a row, where by the 18-minute mark, he's out of the game already. And that's not normal. Like, that is not that's not normal across. I don't mean just in Indiana.
It's not normal across
college
sports.
Basketball. There's very seldom you come out of a game in the first 2. You got to get 2 fouls right away.
Yeah, not when you're a starter. Like in any sport, your starters are usually you're just your core, and you try to get that great start. And 2 minutes is not a start.
Yeah, and so Mike, I truly, I mean, I know we love having you on here, and heck, you're as big a part of the show as anybody. But I just want to make sure you understand. I'm glad the way you phrased it. I'm glad that you asked it. And I'm also glad you didn't try to go any farther with it, because I'm telling you, if it had been me, I would have probably started quoting actual substitutions, and then I would have really pissed him off, and then I would have lost my credentials, and then I would have been all of a sudden a Purdue grad. So it's just I'm glad you didn't try to expand on it and defend yourself. I think you handled it exactly the way it should have, and we all got the answer. Like, I got the answer I've been wanting to know all season long. So that, to me, is the bottom line of a great question.
Yeah, sometimes you got to ask a stumbling, stupid question to get there, but
hey, worked out perfect. I think it was perfect.
Hey, Dr. J hit up the text line. He said at the best Purdue is a play-in. That's if they win 2 tourney games, in his opinion. I don't agree with that. Well, yeah, I do agree with that. I think that they have to win at Rutgers and win a Big Ten game, but just getting to that text. But Mike, also, Tim texted, he said he heard that Indiana's looking at Kobe Webster, a 37% shooter. I'm like, I don't know who he's available. I haven't heard anyone that they're looking at him, but of course everybody's looking at him. He's a 37% 3-point shooter, but the grad transfer market hasn't worked out great for Indiana so far. Not sure that's something Archie will go back to. Maybe he will, but next year's class, how many scholarships do they actually have? Let's just say Christian Landers reclassified to the 2020 class. They're going to have 4 coming in this season. How many scholarships do they actually have left over for next year?
None under that assumption. He would be the 13th scholarship on the roster. So, somebody would have to leave to create an opening.
Well, Devontae Green's leaving.
Hey, would you mind?
Deron Davis is leaving. There's 2 right there.
No, that includes those 2. You got 11 now. You got 4 coming in. You got 2 going out. So that's 13.
So Saturday, hey, Mike, Saturday, would you go ahead and ask which guys on the current roster that have scholarships are going to be not returning next year? Would you go ahead and ask that for me? I would, but I'm not going to be there. So, I'll already be on our post-game show. So if you just ask that for me, I'd appreciate it.
That would be a great last question as a credentialed member of the meeting.
JD would come and escort you out of the room as fast as possible.
He would strip it off my neck as I was asking him.
Yeah, I guarantee it. That's for a fact.
Well, I think it'd be funny. So, if that's what you're going for, then do it.
I'm not going. I don't want to be that guy at all. But
here's the thing. Ask George Montgomery to ask it. He'll ask anything.
There you go. That is a true statement.
I love G Money, so I'll make fun of him all the time.
Hey, Brad and Jasper at the text line. And he said, throughout Archie's tenure, we've heard how much weight he puts on performance day in and day out in practice. While Joey hasn't always seen the results in games for a good stretch, maybe he's earning his starting job in practice. Great question, Brad and Jasper. Maybe that is the case. I don't know. We don't know what goes on in practice. You've been to practice, Todd, but I think that he's kind of a loyal guy, he seems like, and he just likes to stick with what he thinks is working.
He gave the answer of, I'm not going to change my starting lineup because of a negative. Somebody's going to have to go steal that spot away. And that's where you can say, okay, well, let's say he's going to start another big guy. So the only people that are possible to steal that spot away from Joey Brunk are Jerome Hunter or Deron Davis.
But aren't you, when you 4 games in a row, when you take a starter out in 2 minutes, aren't you saying that yourself? That you're not doing it, so you got to come. You're not, and you do that, and you do that over and over. Aren't you saying that very thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is why we've asked the question all year long. Or so who's we? Who's we? Oh, they've asked you the question.
Yeah.
So you're the one. But I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have kind of questioned it all year long, and I don't. He doesn't need to answer to us as that. As long as the player's mindset, I think one of the factors that goes into this is the player's mindset. And there are certain guys. I have said this all year long. I played with guys that played a lot better and were more mentally engaged in the game if they started than they were if they came off the bench. There are also guys I played with who were the exact opposite of that.
That's very interesting.
And so I think that it's probably part of the mental psyche for Archie Miller that he thinks his team is in the best mental place going into this game with that lineup on the floor. Now, I am saying to you, if I was taken out in the first 2 minutes of the game, that would hurt my psyche. Like I would be like, gosh, dang, I'm barely getting a chance up and down the floor. If the first mistake I make, I'm coming out of the game. But that's not necessarily – that's me. I'm not saying that's how Joey Brunk is or that's how, the lineups have been.
But back when you were playing, there's a difference. Not starting wasn't a big deal because you had a roster full of NBA-type players and talent that was way deeper than what this team has. But like for you yourself, you started games, you didn't start games. How did it affect you? Did it matter to you either way? Was it even a thought?
It was, what? It's a thought because of how practices run. So when you're a starter, it's like being the starting quarterback. You're playing the reps with the first team the whole time. And in practice, it was red team or white team. And if you're with the red team, the red teams are the starters and, you're taking all the reps with Calbert and with, Alan Henderson and Brian Evans and all those guys. And so it's a little bit, you practice different, you play different. When you're on the white team, I'm pretending like I'm Cassius Winston playing against the red team every game, which obviously there's some fun parts to that too. But I mean, you approach it differently. But once the game starts and you get to go into a game, if you play well, you get the minutes. I mean, that really is the bottom line. And that was what I always thought was the best part of me going to play for Bob Knight, because if I went in the game and I played well, I got the minutes. I got to play. But on the flip side of that, if I didn't, and I came in and didn't do something pretty positive in the first couple of minutes, I probably wasn't going to get that same opportunity that the starting guys got.
Ryan hit the text line up. He said, I loved the Joe got it going last night. Very good flow to their offense. Defense kept it out throughout the night. All the best to Todd with Lawrence North. It is all love from me. I wanted LC to win. Lawrence North, Lawrence Central going at it last night in a big IHSA battle, I guess. So I think he's got some relatives that plays on the Lawrence Central. But big win for your alma mater, it looks like.
Yeah, it stunk that game had to be, so early. I mean, for a team as good as Lawrence Central is and with as good of players as they have, to lose in the first round of the sectional is, it just sucks. And that's part of, what I've said forever about I think they should seed it like they do the NCAA tournament.
My next question, very up. We've talked about in this tournament about different things, shot clock and whatnot, or just in high school basketball in general. I think seeding would be great, But how in the hell would they do that, Mike Schumann, Todd Leary? How could they seed a high school? It would be pretty difficult, but I think it's something that would make it so much better.
I mean, they already vote a top 16 or top 20, so there's at least that. But that sectional's going to get even worse here. I mean, there's other top 10 teams in there, Cathedral, Addicts, that are going to get knocked out too. So, yeah, that sectional is a beast, and it's unfortunate that a lot of good teams are going to go out early.
Yeah, I mean, and it's that's just one of the things that you deal with because that's the way it's always been, and we've never known it to be any different. And hey, we can't even get them to put a shot clock in, so I'm sure as heck not going to ask them to put in some system. They've got to rank the entire state, and there's just no chance that changes.
Ron's in Scottsdale, Arizona says after the game with Todd Leary is the best post-game show around. I love that. Thank you, Ron. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you for listening. Hey, man, that's going to wrap it up for this hour. We've got to take a break. You're welcome to stick around, Mike, if you want. We got to just hit a break. But we've got lots more coming up from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Dustin Schutte is going to join us in the next hour as well, so we got plenty more to get to. We're back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Baby child.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier. Number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Coyle Leader with you here on this Thursday. Yesterday, let's don't forget, Indiana baseball opened up the home portion of their season. with a resounding 17-2 butt whipping of Purdue. They used the 10-run mercy rule that does not even exist to my knowledge in college athletics. I am not kidding. The coaches agreed to a 10-run mercy rule after 7 innings yesterday. That there's nothing sweeter than doing that to your rival.
I thought it was a new Elam ending.
There you go, man.
You can just all of a sudden, if you know you have no chance of winning, you just call it. It's a new Elam. It's one of the versions of the Elam ending.
And it was kind of funny because it started out for Purdue. Well, Indiana's starting pitcher, McCade Brown, he had a little control problems during that first inning. He couldn't find a plate. End up walking a run in, hit a couple guys, but hang
on a second. So Indiana versus Purdue. Pitcher for IU hitting some batters from Purdue, and you think he had a control problem? I think his control was right on the money.
In any other game, I would have agreed with you.
I think his control was
right on the money. But having watched yesterday, I think it was more about control. But the funny thing is, right off the bat, that was the top of the first inning, and you're like, oh crap, Indiana's going to be. Well, next thing you know, they get out of that inning, they get out of that jam with 1 run, and all of a sudden it was like, son, that was bad. They just opened the floodgates, and they just started just beating whatever pitcher they put up there. They just pounded them. But
Purdue wasn't wearing Astros jerseys yesterday, were they?
That's I almost thought about it. They needed to be. Obviously, they weren't. They got beat to death. But,
it's all the funny baseball jokes I've got.
But that works. But, so congratulations, Indiana baseball. I also saw that game last week that was canceled with Butler has been rescheduled for Tuesday, March 24th. So what was that, like 3 weeks away, something like that?
Close, yep.
The Indiana women's basketball team, they begin tournament play in the Big Ten tournament up in Indianapolis tomorrow. So you got that going on, which is nice. Yesterday, Todd, we picked a couple of games with our friend Brandon Reef was on, and you picked a great one, a tough one too. Creighton, I forget who was Creighton playing.
Georgetown,
Pat Ewing. So that was a good pick there, and I picked the Wisconsin to cover. They did that as well. So if you were following along,
we're 2-0,
baby.
We're 2-0, people. I mean, get on.
That's all we can do. All we can do is give it to you, Justin.
I
hope you, Justin. If you didn't bet on that. Justin said he likes to listen to our picks. He said they've been hitting pretty well. So I'm like, there you go. If you didn't take advantage of it, shame on you.
Yeah, well, I guess we should have looked a couple more up for today. Maybe we're on a heater. We ought to keep it rolling.
Yeah, we can do just that. But some other games last night. How would you have liked? I didn't watch this game. Thank God. Number 22 Virginia beat Miami 46-44.
Did they really? I didn't even see that.
I mean, that's like watching paint dry.
Yeah. I mean,
it's miserable. On the other end of the spectrum, Rhode Island's a pretty decent team in the A-10. Would you agree?
Yes.
Dayton beat them 84-57. Dayton is beating teams like you should be beating teams as you head to the NCAA tournament. They are a legit shot to win a national championship.
Do you know who is on
I do not.
Rhode Island's team?
I do not.
I'll give you a hint. His last name is Toppin.
Are you kidding me?
No. His freshman brother, Jacob Toppin, plays for Rhode Island.
Brother, I heard that and I forgot. That is funny. Yeah, I remember that now that you say that. That's funny. And Obi Toppin was not a highly recruited player.
Nope.
And this dude is a freaking lottery pick.
I'm telling you right now. I don't follow a lot of the, I've heard, I think LaMelo Ball or whatever his name is. I mean, I've heard he might be the number 1 pick. And
I think he's going to go like number 3, I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, if Obi Toppin is not your number 1 pick, I can't. I mean, that guy, him. He is designed for the NBA. Like, dude, it's unbelievable.
He's today's NBA player.
He is. I truly believe he is one of those players that will step in and play next year in the NBA, and you'll think he's been in the league forever. He's got that game already. Stupid.
And it's not quite the same. But it's like if you took Larry Bird and gave him athletic ability. I'm not saying not to a degree. I mean, to a degree. But what I mean by that is this dude can stand out there and shoot, or he can come inside and mix it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think Luka Garza is more of a Larry Bird analogy than him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely.
But his game for today's NBA, like his game.
But I mean, he's like Larry Bird with athletic ability.
Yeah, he is. His athletic ability is ridiculous. He is fast and athletic, and I think they'll work on with him on handling the ball. I mean, we don't need to make it an Obi Toppin show, but he is that good. Dayton is that good. I have been shocked that they've continued to leave San Diego State on the one line, even though Dayton's ranked third in the country, and they're just not giving them any credibility for their wins.
Dayton's up a 1 seed. There's
I don't see how in the world they don't. I mean, they're going to here's one thing that I found was interesting in our first segment, in discussing, teams to make the tournament and teams on the bubble with Zach. I mean, Zach Osterman pretty much acted like the Atlantic 10 was not going to get anyone in the NCAA tournament except for Dayton. And I'm telling you, Richmond and Rhode Island they're both listed above Purdue on the first 4 out right now. And
yeah, but I think that changed. Like I said, I think Purdue is a team that their destiny is totally up to them. You beat Rutgers and you win one Big Ten game, they're in. I will guarantee you, because of the strength of the Big Ten this season.
I mean, Richmond at 23-7. They're 23-7 right now, and they're ranked higher than Purdue. And I'm not ripping Purdue. I want Purdue to get in. I'm just saying Richmond's they play at Duquesne this tomorrow. If they win that game, they'll have 24 wins. They'll win a game or two in their tournament. They're going to be at 25, 26 wins. In the Atlantic 10, beating teams, I mean, they haven't beat, Purdue's beat Iowa's and Indiana's and teams like that. I mean, they've beat VCU. They've obviously lost to Dayton both times. They beat Davidson and George Mason. Not great teams, but how can you take a team with 25 wins? I mean, I just don't think there's any way the Atlantic 10 only gets one team in.
Who's going to affect that? And we've talked about this, but in a different light, is the bid Steelers.
Yeah.
Because the Big Ten is getting in. I think they end up getting 11 in now. I did not think that before. I think Purdue is going to find a way to get in, and Rutgers too. So I think the Big Ten will have 11 in, which is a highest number ever for that conference, and it's really high. But if you look at the ACC and the SEC, they're down. They're only going to get like 4 teams in each. So that's 8, and then you add the 10 or so from the Big Ten, that's 18, 19 teams. Then if you average that between those 3 conferences, that's 6 teams apiece. That's normal. So I think that the Richmonds of the world are dependent upon these bid stealers in these other conferences because it's going to be tight.
Yeah, no, you're right on with all that. I mean, if you're a Purdue fan right now, you've got to be rooting for North Carolina State to lose right away. You got to be rooting for Richmond to lose early in their tournament.
Yeah,
the Utah States and the Rhode Islands and even Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas with a big win last night. Teams like Memphis and, Alabama, Mississippi State, all of those teams. You got to be rooting for all those teams. I'll tell you something that really hurt a lot of the bid stealers or, a lot of the teams looking at the bubble was Tennessee. Tennessee's big win at Kentucky the other day, that bumped them right into, they're not the first 4 out, but they're right there in that next group.
And some conferences, some of the smaller conferences, I think they've already started.
Oh yeah, there's games that start at noon today. There's a bunch of games today.
Oh, there's games at noon today. I didn't know.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's
officially starting. It's conference week.
I'm getting excited just thinking about it. So today you're right. Winthrop and South Carolina Upstate.
Yep.
You're a junkie when you're looking at. Hey, North Carolina, Asheville, and Gardner-Webb, they come on at 2, so I can make that one. When you start talking about that, you're like, oh, man. It's like take the needle out of the vein, man.
And you know what? Like most of the time when you look at those conferences, you look at the Big South and the Mountain West and those, and, you're not all that interested in it. But, I mean, you got San Diego State playing today at 2:30. I mean, looking at a top 20 seed in the country, one of the top 1 seeds. They've got a game at 2:30 today. So you are watching all these other conferences today. But I'll tell you, like when Indiana is in this bubble, and I don't think they're on the bubble anymore. I think they're definitely in, but I also want them to get a better seed. So to be honest with you, like I'm watching the Winthrop game and games like that because it makes a difference in whether Winthrop wins their conference or, if another team comes in and steals it. I mean, it's a big difference to teams that are in the Big Ten. Like I want the Big Ten to get 11 teams. Like I am one of those people that, for the Big Ten in particular, I do. I mean, I know Indiana fans say I can never root for Purdue and all that. I'm not that way when it comes to the Big Ten. I want the Big Ten to have 11 teams in. Now, I can be that way about Kentucky. I'm not that way, but when it comes to the Big Ten, I want them to get all 11 teams in. So I'm watching these other games to see, to see who's going to steal a bid, who they really need to win and lose. And it just makes it, I was a nerd about this stuff anyway. Now I'm just ridiculous.
And if this happens the way that I think it's going to, there's going to be almost an average of 3 Big Ten teams per whatever you call it,
per
region. Yeah. So very likely we're going to see Big Ten teams playing each other in this tournament.
No doubt about it. I bet we'll see it, especially with the big group of seedings where
they're all
there's going to be a lot of
together.
teams between 6 and 11, 6 and 11s. They're going to be playing each other in the second game. No doubt about it. It won't be like they'll catch each other down the road. In that second game, so whether it's Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday, those Saturday, Sunday games will be Big Ten matchups.
And the sad thing is, I hope the Big Ten has a good showing because I don't care if they do or not as far as it telling me whether or not it's been a great season in this conference. It's been an unbelievable season for that conference. So, but I'd love to see them do well in the tournament just so you don't have to listen to the SEC people go, "Say, I told you the Big Ten, it was all talk, blah, blah, blah." So they need to win some games, man.
The bad part is they'll definitely win some games. You would assume that, but I mean, they'll definitely lose some games too. There's going to be so many teams in, but I mean, I'll tell you, it's going to be difficult when you're looking at first round games and you're looking at, like your first round game. If you're Purdue or Rutgers or even Indiana, and you get in, your first round game is against Florida. Florida was a top 5 ranked team to start the season out. I mean, you're first round games against Houston. Houston's been ranked in the top 20 all year long. Like it's not like your first game is going to be, we're playing William and Mary and it's a game you should win. And then that next game is going to be really tough. No, it's going to be just like a Big Ten game in that very first game that you play.
I agree. I'm like, and someone, I wish, gosh, I had the text still, but someone mentioned you talked about this, yes, or whenever it was, about the experience, NCAA experience this team is going to get for next year. This Trace Jackson Davis and Armand Franklin and those guys that are coming back, how they can hopefully impart that onto the Christian Landers and the Trey Galloways and Anthony Leos and Geronimo, so those guys can come in and have that feeling because it's not happening right now.
Yeah, I mean it's for sure a different a different feeling and a different way you approach things and all that. And quite frankly, this can be the beginning of guys like Armand Franklin and even Rob Finnessy and I don't think Trace Jackson Davis will be there for 4 years, so probably not him, but it can be the beginning of those guys' legacy. I mean, Cody Zeller, did he play 3 seasons at Indiana?
2.
He only played 2. I mean, he's you don't look at his career and be like, Romeo's career was so short. I felt like Zeller's was longer. I mean, I don't know.
He made an impact. I mean, Romeo was here 1 year, so he was
based on how good their teams were. And this can kind of be the beginning of. I mean, I really think that Trace Jackson Davis can kind of set a legacy right here off of getting Indiana started on making the tournament and making a little bit of a run. Look, making it to that second weekend would be a big deal. It really would. And I think Indiana has that capability of doing that. The funny part is I think Purdue and Rutgers and all these other teams have that capability too.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And we've seen it. But both of our picks hit yesterday, so that's a good thing. We've got to
we're hot.
Keep that going on.
Run a heater.
Well, we'll get to the last segment today. We'll get to that as well. So Dustin Schutte is going to join us next. We'll talk a little bit of football, college football action, catch up on that. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Coyle and Larry back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Thursday. Coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition joins us now. Dustin, how are you, man?
Hey, guys, I'm doing great. How are you?
Can't complain. What's going on in the world of college football?
Well, you know, it's that fun time of year where we get ready to ramp up into spring practice. Some teams have started, some teams have not. I know it's been kind of a turbulent week for Indiana with the news from Peyton Hendershot and what he's going through at this moment. And then the obviously Samson James entering the transfer portal. So not been a great week for Indiana, but you know, it's early in spring, so time you can turn things around here.
It's been worse than that. They've also lost their strength coach, their performance coach, Dr. Ray and Ballou. They lost their defensive line coach, lost their offensive coordinator, the special teams coordinator. They've had a lot of loss this past season. And then you've got Peyton Ramsey in the transfer portal as well. They've had a lot of losses, man.
Yeah, but in some regard, that's not always necessarily the bad thing. I actually think it's not great that you lose Baloo to Alabama, but at the same time, you just lost an assistant coach to the premier program in college football. So to me, that's sending a message that Indiana knows how to develop talent, that they're kind of now on the radar of some of these bigger programs. So that's going to be more attractive to some other assistant coaches. And yeah, Indiana, when you talk about the transfer situation, I don't know what the running back situation is. All of a sudden, incoming 3-star running back Tim Baldwin Jr. is going to have probably a really big impact behind Stevie Scott because, Cole Guest entering the transfer portal, Samson James, and I think there was another running back who entered the transfer portal this offseason as well. So I don't necessarily think the coaching stuff is as big of a deal. I mean, obviously you want to keep those guys on staff, but when you're losing guys to head coaching positions, when you're losing guys to places like Alabama, that makes it all the more attractive for some of these high risers to come to Indiana and make a difference with that program, knowing that it's on a high trajectory and it's heading in the right direction.
That's a great point for that, but they do have to replace a lot, and we've talked a lot about this. You got Peyton Ramsey still in the transfer portal, but the timing-wise, with someone like him who is experienced, is he likely to wait till after school lets out to determine where he's going to be going?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting point, and it would be interesting to see if he takes his time and waits until he wants to get in there for spring practice, I'm sure, for some of these schools, but at the same time, I don't know that getting in there in the spring is necessarily all that important. He may wait until he sees what happens in this second round of transfer portals. The first big movement is usually right after the bowl season, and then there's a second movement after spring practice when some of the depth charts become more apparent and people know if they're going to be playing next season or not. So he may wait and see if any other schools have needs at quarterback. He's been mentioned as a potential target for Boston College, and joining former Ohio State defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley up there. Northwestern is another one that's targeting him, and I think that would actually be a really good fit because when you look at what Northwestern had trouble doing last season, it was just simply moving the chains. They couldn't pick up a first down, and Peyton Ramsey kind of brings that to the field. He's a guy he's not a guy who's going to stretch the field and throw a 60-yard bomb for a touchdown very regularly, but he's a guy that can pick up 7-8 yards with his legs or with his arms and move the sticks and keep that offense going. And at a place like Northwestern, where Pat Fitzgerald has that defense playing really well each and every season, if you're able to just get some points on the scoreboard, you're going to have a great chance to win. So I would think that Peyton Ramsey may wait until after spring practice, but he would fit in immediately at a place like Northwestern, I think.
And I'm looking real quick. I don't know that they play Northwestern next year. They do not. So that would be some place that he could comfortably go and without worry of playing Indiana.
Yeah, and that may weigh on his mind as well. He may not want to go up against his former team. That may be a big thing in the decision-making. And I heard that, too, potentially Michigan State could be an option. I don't think that that's in the conversation. I wouldn't suspect that he would go up to East Lansing. Playing in the same division, he knows how difficult that is. If he goes to Northwestern, he's got a chance to get on the field immediately. He won't have to play Indiana and Tom Allen. So he can probably get to a bowl game a little bit easier, even though, I know Northwestern struggled last season, but who knows what's going to happen at Michigan State with potential NCAA sanctions coming and new coaching regime there. So yeah, I don't know that Peyton Ramsey will stay in the Big Ten East, but it's going to be interesting to see if that does play a factor in his mind, if he wants to stay in the Big Ten but doesn't want to play Indiana, or if he just wants to leave the Big Ten in general. As a guy who's covered the league and who is a fan of Peyton Ramsey and what he can do, I sure hope I'd like to see him stay in the Big Ten and cover him for one more year, because I know he's not the greatest quarterback, but he's resilient. He stuck it out this season with the Hoosiers and got his playing time when Michael Penix went down, and he's just a fun, good kid to watch out there on the football field.
Absolutely. Indiana introduced their newest defensive line coach yesterday, and Kevin Peoples up from Tulane to fill the spot vacated by Mark Hagan, who has gone to Texas. So Indiana's coaching staff, I believe, is intact now.
Yeah, they should be all set for the upcoming season. And again, you would have liked to got Ron Turner there from Michigan State. I know he did a U-turn right there at the state border and then went back to Michigan State to join Mel Tucker's squad. But Hey, if nothing else, I don't know much about Kevin Peoples being down there at Tulane, but if nothing else, that might give Tom Allen and the Hoosiers another state to recruit in. I don't know if he's got, I'm sure he's got some ties down there. It's not as talent rich as Florida, which is a state that Tom Allen likes to target, but he's a guy that might be able to get a steal or two from the state of Louisiana. And when you're trying to grow and improve and try to compete with the likes of Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, you'll take talent from wherever you can get it. And there's a lot of really good players in Louisiana, and not all of them can go to LSU. So if they get a chance to play some Big Ten football, that's where you might be able to see Kevin Peoples, reach down there and really make some contributions to the Indiana defensive line.
Right on. What do you have going on from Saturday Tradition for the folks?
Yeah, so we're just looking into spring practice right now, kind of taking a look at the rosters, seeing what we can see, and then next week I'll be off. I'll be up in Indianapolis for the Big Ten tournament, so I'm not got too much going on right now, just trying to survive this week and take in 5 days of college basketball as a fan.
Really? Switch coming in for the tourney. Wow. Well, we'll see you there.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. We did this, a friend of mine and I, we did this 4 years ago, I think 2016, the last time it was Indianapolis, and we'll do it again this time, and don't have to be a reporter, so I might have to enjoy a beverage or two and just watch some really good basketball. I might be even more entertaining than the NCAA tournament because Big Ten has been incredible this season.
Well, you can come over to the Tap afterwards where we'll be doing After the Game Live with Todd Leary, so you can join us for the postgame show.
Yeah, I'll have to definitely hit that up.
Well, I cannot thank you enough, Dustin. I hope you have a great day, and make sure you check out all of his coverage at Saturday Tradition.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Todd. Have a good one.
See you, bud.
You betcha. There is Dustin Shooting joining us from the Saturday Tradition. Take it off. Coming to the tournament. See, the tournament, man, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody loves to go or watch the tournament, Todd. It's just that's just what it does.
Yeah, that when you're a sports nerd and you just love this stuff, I mean, it is.
I mean, this guy's life is football, but he's taken off to do this as a fan.
Yeah, when you think about the fact that from Thursday and Friday will just be an absolute blast because games will start at noon and go all day long. And, quite frankly, like the people that I know, I mean, it turns into by the 7:30, 8 o'clock game, they're lucky to be able to see what's out on the court. So it just turns into a really fun time. And downtown Indianapolis, I mean, I hope the weather just stays somewhat close to what it is right now because it'll just be an absolute blast time.
And I got to tell you, this has been an absolute greatest winter that I can recall because there was just nothing bad. I'm like going, woo, shoo, made it through that one.
We're walking outside right now feeling like it's cold at 45 degrees. Usually it's warming up to this point right now. So,
and there's not a better town that does a sporting event than Indianapolis. And if the weather is right, it is Katie bar the door. I'm not sure if they have an NCAA hosting job this year. They probably do. They usually do since the NCAA is housed there. But I'll have to look that up. But man, just love being in Indy for any kind of tournament. It's a blast.
Yeah, I'm from Indianapolis, so obviously, and being in the state of Indiana, like we're probably biased for sure. But I mean, we've been to you've covered a lot of stuff. We've talked to reporters that have covered an awful lot of stuff. When the Super Bowl was in Indianapolis, I mean, you're talking about people that nationally go to the LAs and Dallas and Houston and New York, and they're constantly covering things in those cities. And Indianapolis, just with the proximity of the restaurants and hotels to the sporting venues, is different and separates itself from so many other places. I mean, you go to Chicago or New York or wherever. I mean, you got to, you take a taxi from your hotel to downtown, and then you eat somewhere, and then you go to the game, and then you got to, taxi back to your place. In Indy, you can just walk everywhere, and it changes the entire atmosphere of everything. And I don't care if people are from Ohio State or Michigan or Nebraska or New Jersey. It doesn't matter. When they come in for the Big Ten tournament, every single time everybody says this is the only place they should ever have it. And I know money factors into that, but there's no place better to host the Big Ten tournament or NCAA events than Indianapolis.
And, I hate to bring this up, but you have to, almost as a public service. This coronavirus thing is real, and it's starting to affect sporting events around the world, but also here. You've seen some people that are way out on the edge, but they've suggested the NCAA tournament should be played without people in the stands, and which is ridiculous. But I just over the last day or two, I've seen so many things where people showing them where nobody's shaking hands anymore, just doing the fist bump or just doing a forearm shiver to each other. But it's serious, and it's becoming very serious because this thing is continuing to grow. And then when you have events, like massive events, not just one, these things the tournament's going to be going all over the country where you've got thousands of people in one spot going on just over and over and over for days at a time. It's a serious deal. And yesterday, before the IU game, an older guy that I happen to know, a fan, he was walking by saying hi and shook hands. Hey, man, how you doing? And, I just got back from Egypt. And as soon as he said that,
first thing through your mind,
I was like, please walk away because I got to go to the restroom and wash my hands. And that's the first thing I did when he left me, and I couldn't wait for him to leave, and I went straight to the restroom and just started washing my hands. I'm like, oh, my God. I'm serious. As soon as he said he just got back from Egypt, I just almost stood like 4 feet away from him. It was crazy, but it is, man. And I'm not a germaphobe either. Probably quite the opposite, but, man, it's scary.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know enough about it to talk too in detail about it, but I mean, it's scary is the right word.
Neither do I, but it hadn't stopped me.
Well, but no, but I mean, I know what you mean.
I'm kidding.
I get that experience because right now, if you talk to anyone, I mean, if you just shook hands with anyone and they said they had just come back from anywhere overseas, I think it would be common across the whole country right now. Everyone would pretty much immediately run to the bathroom and wash their hands.
Well, it's funny because I'm like the last person that gets to that point. I'm so like, yeah, whatever. But yesterday, that was not the case yesterday. When I heard that word Egypt come out of his mouth, it was like, ding. And I seriously could not wait to finish that conversation. And I didn't touch a thing and just waited for him to leave. And I went straight to the restroom. And maybe it's overcautious. I don't know, but funny stuff.
Yep.
Hey, we got one more segment to finish out the show here on this Thursday. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Coyle O'Leary back to finish it up right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tea time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Thursday. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. The IHSA tournament's going on right now, Todd Leary. I know that you have a vested interest in that as well, but Will Leary and Carmel, they play, tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, Noble Tucky.
Noble Tucky. I just had all those scores pulled up. Is that Fishers? Zionsville and Fishers they're in that same sectional. I was looking at that score, and you talked about this the other day, but until you look at that score, it doesn't really – but 23-21 was the final between Zionsville and Fishers. What the hell did they do, stand there and pass the ball back and forth?
They did. I mean, that's what I was saying. You know, when we had Joe Smith on yesterday, and, you know, he kind of made the comment that he doesn't think it affects it that much because he's watching –
a team that's not
Bloomington South all the time, who's athletic and running up and down the floor. And if you watch Lawrence North and Lawrence Central, you probably kind of feel the same way. I mean, they get up in the 60s and 50s all the time in scoring. But then when you watch a team like Zionsville and Fishers, and you see the score at 23-21, and you're like this is not fun. Like, that's not fun to watch. I don't care if you're an old school, it wasn't a defensive matchup. Both teams sat back in a zone, and the other team just passed the ball around the outside. There was more than 20 passes made on almost every possession I watched during the game, and it was painful to watch.
I agree. Tim hit the text line, says, let's see. The Barn Hazard kid from Lafayette, Jeff, is hitting 57% from the field, 45% from the three-point line. Bruiser has been watching him. His dad, Mark Barnheiser, played for Purdue but transferred to Auburn for 3 years. Yeah, I saw that. That's a good kid. One of the names that's on the list just now, recruiting-wise. Also, a couple of games, we talk about the tournament. Culver, they beat South Bend and Riley the other night. I wrote that score down. Where the heck did it go? But anyway, that's Galloway. He moves on. But Blake Wesley played for South Bend and Riley. Another target Indiana's looking at, a good shooter from up there. 62-41. Man, they won that one easy. Culver's going to be tough. I think Culver got moved up because of the success when you go to the state finals twice in a row. They move you up a class. So they're 4A now. This could turn out to be an Anthony Leal, Trey Galloway final, man. That'd be kind of fun.
They tried to have that game, back in December at Southport, and for injury, Trey Galloway couldn't play. So,
South didn't win by that much, did they?
I can't remember. But I think they won by maybe 10 or something like that.
Yeah, it was high enough. So that'll give us. If that happens, I'll have to go to that game.
Yeah. Well, Larry North might have something to say about all that.
You think?
I do think
they'll match up in the regional, I assume, right?
I don't even. It's changed so much. I don't even know how. I mean, heck, Lawrence North, we never used to leave Indianapolis. We played at Hinkle every weekend, so it was. People always came to us. It was always the Hinkle sectional. Now they move it all over the place, and I think it's at Lawrence Central right now for the sectional, and then they'll probably go somewhere up north for the regional, I would guess.
Yeah, it's like those teams in the South, Floyd, New Albany, Jeff, they all play at Seymour for the sectional, then the regionals at Seymour, the semi-states at Seymour. But you talk about over a span of 3 weeks, that gym holds 8,000 people. So if you get 3 days of games each week, that's a lot of people. I mean,
well, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and it's nice that it's at a venue like that. I mean, that's, that's where it's good. But I mean, you're also talking about right now, Bloomington is traveling to Columbus. I think Columbus East or one of the Columbus schools is hosting this tournament right now. I mean, that's a haul like that. To do that 3 times in a week. That's a haul.
Yeah. To have to travel back and forth to the same place. It's kind of monotonous, but, oh, well. Ryan from Michigan says also the Notre Dame versus Florida State. That was the Miami versus Virginia finishes were really good. Could not believe Miami fouled Virginia when the score was tied with about 8 seconds to go. Does Todd know why they would foul? Well, I'm not sure he saw the game. So
I did not see it. But,
we were actually busy with the game ourselves. So
that wasn't the plan, I would assume. But, I mean, it's truly an assumption because I can't imagine.
Foul, I don't know why they would do that if it was intentional. But maybe they just didn't get lucky and get the good call. Alan, still smiling there in Southern Indiana down in Birdseye. Very concerned about the Badgers. The other side of that Badger thing, his daughter-in-law is an alumnus, and it just makes it tougher on him. Oh, well. That's the one thing I've said. I have a daughter. She may or may not go to IU. I don't know where she's going to go to college. I don't care. It's not wherever she goes. That's not going to affect me, my allegiances or anything like that. Now, if she was playing against IU, that's the only way I could ever see myself actively pulling against, say, IU where I went to school.
Right.
And that's other than that, man, I don't see it happening. But if that were the case, heck yeah, I wouldn't think a thing about it. Neither would anyone else.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not even, I'm Indiana all the way. It doesn't mean I'm going to not like Indiana because my son goes somewhere else. But if they play each other, I'm going to be rooting for my son. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Man, let's say one of them ended up going to like Purdue and then had to play Indiana for 4 years.
Use Kentucky as an example, or use Ohio State as an example, because that
really that's more than Kentucky to you. Wow.
Say what?
You really hate Ohio State then, because Kentucky's at the top of my list. There's no doubt about that.
They're 1B to me. I mean, 1A and 1B are Ohio State.
Well, let's say that was the case. Either one, Ohio State or Kentucky, they played there. What would that be like for you?
You could do it. Dan Dockich did it. You could do it. You would have to do it. I mean, your kids.
Sure.
I mean, heck, there's nothing more important than that. So anyone could make that adjustment and do it. You would just have a totally different perspective and look at things completely different.
And the funny thing is, it's funny how easy that is to do.
Yeah.
And like in any other circumstance, you're like, oh, no, it couldn't happen. There's no way it could happen. But then this circumstance, like, oh, wait, there's no way it cannot happen. It's just easy. Boom.
Yep. No doubt about it. Especially if you could get one of those schools to pay for their education. Then all of a sudden I could really root for them.
Ding, ding. Lots of tournament games tonight for the high school boys. I don't know who's any of the big games going on, but we'll keep up with it.
Are there games today?
What is today? Thursday?
Thursday?
Oh, yeah, there's always games on Thursday. Always games on Thursday, I think. Who knows? We'll keep up with it, but it's always fun. Can't wait and tomorrow we get to talk about it all over again. Looking forward to it. Indiana baseball's got a big 4-game set this weekend as well, so if you're bored, want to get out and go hang at the Bart, you can do so. It was a heck of a day out there yesterday, man. What a great crowd they had out there. So it was a fun time, but great place to hang.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a beautiful stadium. The team's good. They put a good product out on the field, and it's just that is like I haven't been to a lot of other college baseball facilities, but man, that is sure a nice one.
And before we get out of here today, we need to see. All right, we've got some games going on today. We could be like real risky and go to these. All right, I'm going to go. Gardner-Webb is a 4.5-point favorite over North Carolina Asheville. I like Gardner-Webb because they beat Kentucky once. So
did they beat them this year?
No, it wasn't this year.
They beat Gardner-Webb. I want to say like North Carolina or somebody. It's been fairly recently.
Aren't they in North Carolina?
I think so.
I think they are, and they're playing North Carolina Asheville in this tournament, so I bet you they are. Winthrop is, and you got South, yeah. So, but I'm going with Gardner-Webb. They're a 4.5-point favorite over North Carolina Asheville. They play at 2:00 today, so that's an early one. Get that one in.
That is an early one.
That's my pick of the day, Justin. If you're listening, there you go.
Man, you're putting me on the spot. I hadn't looked at any of these.
Yeah, well, I didn't either. But if you want to really risk it, boy, Michigan is a 17.5-point favorite at home against Nebraska, which, of course, they're better than they are. But
that is just a ton of points.
A lot of points, man. I just don't like those games. If you don't have,
you know what? I'm going to go with the team that really needs to win this. Oh gosh, I can't. I was going to take Houston, but they're on the road at Connecticut. I don't like that. I'm going to go with San Diego State. It's a big line. They're a big favorite, but I think it's time that they need to make a
push.
They need to make a statement. This is one of those that they probably win by 20 something, and you look at it like they were just that much better than the other team. I mean, they're a 17-point favorite. I don't think I've ever played a game where I gave up 17 points, but it's an early game. It gets you off to a good start for the day. You picked a 2:00 game. I'll pick a 2:30 game. San Diego State.
A fun game to watch tonight. Illinois is at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Buckeyes are 6.5-point favorite over the Illini, a game that Illinois would like to have because they still have a shot at winning the Big Ten championship. Todd?
What?
Well, yeah, aren't they up? No, they're not. They're a game back, aren't they?
Are they? Hang on. Let me look real quick.
They were in that 4-way tie, but we got too many screens moving around.
Hang on, I'm there. If they win tonight, they will be 13-6. They will be tied.
So there you go.
So you are correct.
The Illini fighting for how many people expected that before the season started?
I mean, honestly, before the season started, probably not very many. But
yeah.
But right now, I mean, it wouldn't be a shock to me. I mean, who's got okay? So those last, we're not in a hurry to get off of here. Those last 4 teams that let's say Illinois wins tonight. Who's got the toughest game of those last? Wisconsin's at Indiana. We know that one. Illinois would be at home to Iowa. Michigan State is at home against Ohio State. And Maryland is at home versus Michigan. Who's got the easiest game? I mean, who? So let's just say Illinois wins, just for argument's sake, and there's 4 teams up there. Who wins that?
I think all 3 of those teams win at home.
You think Wisconsin? You think Wisconsin beats Indiana?
Oh no, the 3 that you just gave. I think Wisconsin is the only team that does not win on the road.
So you think Michigan State will win at home versus Ohio State?
I do.
And you think Maryland will win at home against Michigan?
I do.
Yep, that's probably.
And I think the Illini are going to beat Iowa.
Yeah, but I mean, Illinois would have to win. They've still got to win at Ohio State tonight. That's not a given. So they're not for sure one of those 4 teams.
I think they lose that game.
Yeah, so then they wouldn't be. Then the only 3 teams will be in it be Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Maryland.
And then Wisconsin gets knocked out because I think they lose to Indiana. I think that I think Michigan State and Maryland are going to tie for the Big Ten championship
with 6 losses.
With 6,
just like we predicted.
Not just one team with 6, 2 teams with 6 losses. That tells you how much of a meat grinder this conference was. I'll have to look up. I'm sure it has happened, but it has been a rare occurrence if the Big Ten champion ever had 6 losses. That's a lot of losses for a champion to have in that conference. It's usually between 2 and 4, to be honest.
But I mean, is this the first year for the 20-game schedule? Or did it start last year? I can't remember.
Great point as well.
But it's just, you're going to be able to look at that from both perspectives because, the winner's going to have 14 wins in the Big Ten. And, 14 wins in the Big Ten in this. Here's going to be the crazy part. The best record in the Big Ten is going to be probably Maryland with 24 wins. And then Michigan State, then it's going to drop all the way down to Michigan State with 22. wins. If Indiana can get a win, they'll have their 20th win this weekend. There's nobody like that's the highest amount of wins. You look at a lot of these other conferences, they're looking at 25, 26, 27 wins. And we know how hard it is to get a win. So to have that many teams with 4+ wins on you is, I mean, Kansas is 27-3, Baylor's 26-3. I mean, you're talking teams with 25, 26, 27 wins. That's a gigantic difference. Creighton's got 23 wins. Villanova 23 wins already.
What if I told you no Big Ten champion has ever had 6 conference losses?
I would believe you.
You should, because I'm looking at it. But now 5 losses has happened twice. In 2002, Indiana was one of 3 teams that were at 11-5. And in 2012, there were 4 teams at 13-5. Michigan State and Ohio State. No, it's 3 teams. So twice, 3 teams have split it at 13-5. But yeah, this is going to be a new first for the Big Ten Conference, and yes. I think there's going to be 2 of them with 6 losses.
Yeah, well, there's definitely going to be 2 of them, I would think.
It's crazy, but it's going to be fun no matter what, man. I can't thank everybody enough for joining us on the program today. Dustin Schutte, as always, from the Saturday Tradition. Zach Osterman, of course, from the Indianapolis Star. Appreciate him. Mike Schumann was on as well, getting berated by Archie. Love Look forward to doing it again back tomorrow, man. Appreciate everybody joining us here from the Golf Club Beacon Point Studios. You know that Saturday after the game with Todd Leary is back live from Yogi's as Indiana finishes out the regular season portion of their schedule at home against the Wisconsin Badgers to see if they can close out a nice 10-10 Big Ten mark. As they push towards the Big Ten tournament, and then, of course, the NCAA tournament. Lots of IHSA action going on. Get out, go see a high school game. Support Indiana high school basketball. It's the greatest thing going in the history of the country. So go check them out and support them. Go check out the Flying Learys tomorrow night as the Carmel takes on who are they playing? Zionsville? Noblesville, rather. So, that's the semis. So then they'll get Zionsville maybe. But check it out. It's just lots of fun stuff going on, man. But for Todd, I'm Jim Coyle. For Jake, we appreciate you guys. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.